welcome back to FanCon. This is the Scooby-Doo Panel, and I'm so excited to bring my next guest to talk with all of us about Scooby-Doo and, of course, the new movie, Happy Halloween, Scooby-Doo. Please welcome Griffin.
Hi, guys.
Gray.
How are you doing? Hi.
I'm so happy to meet you and have you here because you've really become a staple now in this legacy of Scooby-Doo.
Oh, it's such an honor. I still can't believe it sometimes. It's so weird. And for the longest time in my voiceover career, people would say, I would say, oh, I do cartoon voices. And they would say, oh, would anything that I would know? And I'd be like, well, I did this pilot, well, there's this one little mouse, I'm trying to, but when I got this part, it was so nice to just go, well, I'm Daphne on Scooby-Doo because, everybody knows Scooby-Doo. So it was kind of, the first thing that I could actually say, like, I'm this. Is that anything?
Yes, it absolutely is something. And I didn't realize it's been 20 years that you've been doing this character.
I know. It's crazy. It's just, like, I used to come home from school and watch it, I would eat ice cream in my robe and, watch Scooby-Doo. I was watching some of the really old ones with Heather North with my kids the other night. They like it when I switch up the ones that I'm in. They like to see other Daphnes. I don't know. They're not fans of Mom. They're not fans of Mom. Sometimes they're like, oh, you're that too? Anyway, they're 3, 6, and 13, and they're over it. They're very over it.
And aren't they just the harshest critics? Honestly, if you can't please them, it's devastating.
Yeah, I know.
So what's fun about this when you have a character with this much history, because you've done over like 40 different projects with her, I think it's something crazy like that. Over time, you start to, I imagine, get more nuanced and start thinking of ways you can kind of expand personalities. Where are you with that now?
Well, I definitely think I've rubbed off on the Daphne character, because when I first started doing her, I was trying to, my dear friend Mary Kay Bergman had played her before me, and it was such a sad time losing her and taking over the role, which seemed I was very conflicted about it, and I was very true to her portrayal, and she was like the sweetest person in the whole entire world. She was just so nice. She played the voice of Snow White, and I always like imagined her as like the real life Snow White, because like everyone loved her, animals, people, like she was just like, just like, come to me, my children. I actually drew a picture of her as Snow White with all of us voiceover students, because I was one of her students. So when I booked the role, I just was really worried about keeping true to her sweetness and just all her. But as the years have worn on, the last years I've gotten snarkier and snarkier, much closer to my own personality. So Daphne doesn't have any trouble giving Fred a little side eye when he goes off trying to look for clues with some jerk.
Right. Well, she had so many quips in Happy Halloween Scooby-Doo. She was very quippy, and I was just wondering how you felt about that. Was that any of you giving your own ideas, or was that all Maxwell doing that?
Sometimes I do improv a lot, like especially the snarky stuff, and they let it slide. Maxwell and I have a very similar sense of humor, so I'm sure it was a combination of the two.
Yeah, and it was interesting to see her over the years. She sort of has this maybe interest in Freddie, but we never really get to see where that goes. What do you bring into the recording studio? Are you thinking along the lines of that relationship?
I just think she's just in love with an idiot. Haven't we all had that experience? He's a lovable idiot though. So how could you not love him? But he's always going to love Traps more than Daphne. And, we have a lot, and he puts up with me wearing the same outfit every day. And so it works out.
Something that was, well, that's, there are a lot of same outfits in the cartoon world. I'm glad to hear someone acknowledge it. But speaking of outfits, Daphne was trying.
She's so into fashion. I'm like, what fashion icon wears the same outfit every day?
That's very true.
How fashionable she is. Okay.
You had a chance to play off of Elvira and sort of want to become her. How is that?
Oh my God. Well, I want to become Elvira anyway. Some teenagers like on Twitter tried to like make me feel bad one day, and they're like, oh, you Elvira looking. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. I was like, so excited. Yeah, my grandma and I used to watch Elvira just all the time. We would make popcorn and it was like an event in our apartment. And my grandma passed away a few years ago. And it was funny because I got to tell Elvira that it's sort of like a cool little ghost story kind of, or spirit world story. But for my birthday, my grandma was really poor and she could never get me a nice birthday present. I mean, I didn't care because I loved her and I spoiled her more than anything. But she was always going, Mijita, I should be spoiling you. You should not be spoiling me. I mean, she just felt so guilty about it. But after she died, I went to the casino, which my grandma loved to play slot machines. And I wasn't that into them until she died. Then now I feel like I've taken on her little love of slot machines, and I miss Vegas with all this COVID crap. Anyway, but I was at a casino. It was my birthday, and I was like, oh, which machine should I play, Grandma? I was just asking her in my head. I was like, come on, Grandma, help me find a good machine. And then across the casino, I saw the Elvira slot machine, and I was like, oh my God, Grandma. So I went and sat down. Nobody was at it. And I put $20 in, immediately won $1,500. So I was just like, well, we're done here. I just cashed it out, left. And it was funny because I went and got I went to a medium like a year later and the medium said, your grandma said that she got you a really good birthday present, that in real life, she never could buy you a good birthday present, but this year. And I was thinking, what? And then I was like, oh my gosh, the Elvira slot machine. So I don't know. It's kind of a weird story, but I told Elvira and she was like, oh, that's such a cool story. I love her.
No, that is a cool story. That's what a wonderful memory to have. My goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So you went from originally being very tentative about picking up a role that was cherished for another actress, and now making her your own. What sort of things have you done now? Would you say that is definitively the gray version of this character that is different from what it was originally?
Well, even just watching the old ones the other night with my kids, and funny thing about the original, about Heather North, Daphne's voice in some of the originals, is that we went to church together for a while. She used to play piano at our church, and then I was also good friends with Mary Kay, so I always tell people like Daphne's stick together. But she was just so Heather was just so innocent, and then Mary Kay brought on a complete sweetness. Like she was smart and kind of quirky, but she was very sweet. And I think I've just brought some sarcastic edge to her. I'll just add little things. Like if I'm, I remember one episode, Freddie was going off to look for clues. He's like, let's split up and look for clues. Pam and I'll go this way or whatever. And I was like, Pam and I'll go this way. Something that Daphne would never say, or.
Sure.
She rolls her eyes a lot at him and she's like, yes, Fred, we get it. Yes. She's just sort of on her last nerve with him sometimes.
Well, there was a wonderful Daphne moment at the very beginning of this film. I'm sure you had fun with it, where we got a chance to have some more tongue-in-cheek, self-referential Mystery Inc. thing with Daphne and her phone trying to just go, yeah, we know you want to say the meddling kids line.
Yes. It's so funny because everyone wants to say that meddling kids line. No matter how big the celebrity is that comes in, it's so cute because I'm always like, oh, it's their childhood too. And they're like, oh my God, I get to say the meddling kids line. And it's like, well, you're Ricky Gervais. You should, I can't believe this is such a big deal. Yeah. I got to do that little song I know whoever hasn't seen the movie yet, I don't know, but I do this goofy little song about, and it was sort of I made up the tune and it was very, very, goofy. That was the closest to my personality ever getting, because I make up little weird songs around my kids all day anyway.
So you didn't have any direction on that? That was just great. Just go and do your thing.
Yeah. I knew it was a little song and they were just kind of just make up something cute, just kind of funny. Yeah. So,
it was a very real moment. It felt very human.
Yeah. Well, I play the auto harp and I'm a musician as well, in addition to this. So people who know me from I play these very serious Appalachian murder ballads on the auto harp and everything. And so people don't realize that I also do cartoon voice. That world can't believe that I do this, and this world can't believe that I do that. So it's kind of funny. So I kind of got to bring my folk song background too.
I think we have to have a meeting of the worlds on this one. I think there needs to be Daphne chamber music.
Yes. Oh yes. Yeah. I've gotten to do a fair amount of singing as Daphne. It's very different than what my regular singing is, because I have to sing in character, so, and I don't really sing like that.
So is she now your most recurred role?
Gosh, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Yeah, I guess without a doubt. She really is. I mean, I've played some Hanna-Barbera like classic character. I do Jane Jetson, I do Betty Rubble, but nothing has recurred this often. My most popular character is Azula from Avatar. People ask about that all the time. I do those cameos all the time, and I'm always shocked when somebody wants. I'm always ready to do Azula for somebody, and then I'm like, oh, they want Daphne, or oh, they want Vicky from the Fairly Odd Parents, or whatever. But yeah, Azula hands down is the most requested, but Daphne definitely the most recurred. So recurring.
How would you say that you mentioned the COVID situation that we're in? And I mean, it's kind of hard to avoid talking about it at this point. Yeah. How has your job changed, or has it not?
Well, I am in my son's art studio recording. It was funny because I was married and my husband was a record producer, and I built this fancy studio at our house for him. And then we got this bitter divorce. And even though he and I are great friends now, but I was like really mad that I built this studio. And then my son started using it for his art, which he's a really great, he does, like, you can kind of see it behind me. It's like kind of,
oh yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like graffiti. It's kind of like Basquiat or something. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway, so, but my agent, when COVID hit, my agent was like, do you have a studio? And I was like, oh my God, yes, I have a studio. I have a really nice studio. The only unfortunate thing is I'm very petty. And after the judge, like, I had to pay alimony. Plus he got to use this studio at my house. And I was like, what? And so I cut the air conditioning off. I like cut all the wires to the air conditioning. And now it's super hot in California. And I'm just like sweating all the time. I need to fix it. I'll fix it. Anyway, he and I get along great now. He lives in Nashville, but I was like, oh, I shouldn't have been so petty.
Yeah, we got to get that fixed for you for sure. Speaking of having kids, do they weigh in on the different Scoobies? Do they ever have an opinion about, oh, this one I liked it better or worse than the previous one?
I did Waldorf with my kids, which is like a learning, it's like a school where you don't do media. So my kids, now especially with the lockdown and everything, I've been doing like a movie night, so and my 6-year-old has really gotten like wind of Scooby-Doo. My older one liked it a little bit too, but they just were never that into media. They mostly we do lots of drawing and stories, and we're anti-TV. But that is my job. So we do get fun DVDs sent to the house, or codes to download. So I'm like,
wait a minute. You're anti-TV.
I know. I don't want my kids watching TV. They don't play like video games or anything like that. Like even my 13-year-old, he got into like Fortnite for a little bit with his friends, but I think he'd been out of video games so much for so long that he did feel like he was kind of wasting his time. He's like, I could do it for like an hour, but after that, I'm just like kind of, it's just too much. I get bored with it. So he's had like 3 art shows. He's only 13 and he sells his paintings for like $1,000 a piece. But and my 6-year-old's never played any kind of game like that. Or I have a 3-year-old as well. She definitely has.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, because for a lot of people, the fascination with the character that you represent, there's a lot of nostalgia. So I'm wondering, what kind of nostalgia are your kids gonna have? Like,
I don't know. Maybe just like doing arts and crafts with mom, or we play games, I don't know. But I mean, they're not like Amish or something. I mean, we do have a movie night every now and again. So
okay. Well, I think
6-year-old has been definitely because we watched the really old Scooby-Doos the other day, because he saw Batman and he was like, I love Batman. And I was like, Mommy's Catwoman. And so then I was trying to do the voice of Catwoman, and he was like, he didn't like that. So, and he saw Spider-Man, but just like in passing, and he's like, I like that guy. I like that superhero guy. So we're going to be Spider-Man for Halloween. He's going to be Spider-Man. I'm going to be Black Cat, which I play on the show. And my daughter's going to be a spider, because she's like a total tomboy and she wants to be scary. So she's going to be like a tarantula.
Oh, I love it. And I love that you watch all this stuff with your kids. That is so wonderful.
That's one thing that when I was doing the research about media, because Waldorf was like no TV, but the studies I read said that kids who watch, there were studies with kids who watched no TV, and kids who watched TV by themselves, and then kids who watched TV with their family. And the family kids did better than anybody, because I think it's because you can kind of bounce ideas off your parent and go, why are they doing that? Or, are they bad? Or, it was, I don't know. They just said those kids did better.
No, I think that's fantastic. I love that. And I kind of wanted to toss in since this is FanCon, I wanted to include the fans a little bit with this conversation. So we have one question from someone I'm going to throw on screen for you real quick from one of our fans. And this is from Megan K. And she asks, do you use some of the lines from the show, from the character Daphne, in your daily conversations?
No, I hardly ever watch my own work. I did. The Halloween special was the one thing because because it's Halloween, and I was like, well, that'll be a fun thing to watch. But no, I hardly, even when people tell me like, hey, can you do a line from the thing? I know a lot of Azula lines just because I've been doing conventions for so long and I knew the fans wanted that. So I remember I tried to go back and relearn them. But I don't know. I've still never watched the whole Avatar series. And there are so many things I just don't see. It's just not one of my interests. Like I like jazz and I like, I love like contemporary art, and I just, that's just not one of my interests. So this is like just my job. So I don't know the lines.
How, I mean, I have to ask then, like, if it's just the job thing, what made you choose to go this direction?
I just did a lot of cartoon voices I just did voices as a child. I love to do voices. But I don't ever do voices in my everyday life. I don't do voices. Like I know a lot of actors who can't turn it off. Like I'm like, okay, enough. You have the job. Like I know a lot of women that they talk like this all the time, and I'm just for fun, and I don't do that.
Wait, what about reading bedtime stories to the kids?
Okay. I do that when I read stories. But when my 13-year-old was little, he used to complain about it a little bit.
Oh.
But then his dad said that he read to him, and then he would go, "Mommy, don't do that. Don't do the voice. I don't like that." But then when his dad was reading the book, he said, "Mom does the voices when she reads the book." So I don't know. He was a little bit of both, but I do that. I do that for my kids, and they like that. So.
I think as he grows up, he may be more fond of that later on.
Now my 13-year-old thinks I'm like a rock. He loves it. He loves to brag about me to his friends, and he's like, "Mom, so and so couldn't believe that you were." He likes that. He's like my 13-year-old is like my best buddy. We do everything together. We travel together. We have we go to movies every week. We go to the drive-in because we're trying to figure out things to do during all this. We're getting very creative. He likes to skateboard, so we go to a parking structure. We pick up to-go food, go to a parking structure. We lay out a blanket. We eat our little food, and then he skateboards, and I film him for his Instagram stories. And it's just, we're getting very creative. No, he loves he played the voice of Lincoln Loud on the Loud House for a long time. My son.
Oh, so, that's cool.
Yeah. So we got to do conventions together. We got to go to work together on Fridays, and yeah, it was fun.
There you go. Now you got the family dynamic built back into it.
My 3-year-old is amazing. She does animal noises, and my agent was like, "I've never heard a 3-year-old do that." Yeah.
After you get so many different credits, so many different experiences, and this is obviously your job, so you do it all the time. Is there though a standout moment thus far in your career that you're like, I will always think fondly of the time that I played blah 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 blah?
I am a Disney nut. I'm one of those adults who can't stay away from Disneyland. I know it's so. My friend's like, "Oh, you're one of those." I'm like, I am. I'm proudly one of those. I got to do the voice of the new pirate Red on the Pirates of the Caribbean. They replaced the controversial thing. It was funny. My son is so smart, and he was like, "Is that human trafficking?" Because he had just learned about human trafficking. He was only 9 or something, and I was like, "Yeah, kind of." And he's like, "They can't have that at Disneyland. They need to change that." And I was like, I don't think they're going to change it. I said, people are very cranky about changing things. And then when I had the audition, I was like, Tex, oh my God, they're changing it. And I just auditioned for it. And and so then when I actually got it, I actually tweeted before about him complaining about it. So I had a record of him actually having something to say about it. So I was like, well, they did change it, and I'm the voice of Red. And it was fun to be able to show my kids that hey, if you want things changed and you want things improved, because it was funny. He's so smart. And he was like, if they can change it to put Johnny Depp on the ride, they can change it to take out the human trafficking.
Wow. Well, that may start to have more significance, because there's rumors that Pirate Red's going to have a bigger role to play going forward.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well,
in the live action movies.
Ooh, well, I won't be able to do that, but I would, but they'll probably get somebody famous, which is
whatever.
Fine. Emma Stone. That's who I want. Emma Stone.
You're totally famous. You're already her voice. Come on,
I wouldn't want to be in an on-camera movie. I really wouldn't. I love my life, and it's fun to travel and not get recognized or whatever. I love it. So
Well, we love you, and we love what you bring to the legacy of Scooby-Doo, which is like this wonderful American tradition now that continues to grow. Thank you so much for your time and for doing what you do.
Thank you, Phil. All right. Take care, guys. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye. All right, guys, there's going to be more FanCon 2020 on the way with even more Scooby-Doo in the Scooby-Doo panel. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more.